Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a highlight on a client. She's wanting a platinum blonde color. A lot of platinum blondes are more ashy. This one is going to be more of a buttery blonde. I think that is something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of, transitioning into the new trends coming up. So if you want to see how I did it, just keep watching. Here is her before picture. Before we get started, I wanted to kind of show what we were working with. So I already have my sections. I have a 4-section part, and I'm just going through and weaving small pieces out. A lot of it is her previously lightened blonde in there. So if it's not too light, I will go ahead and lay the lightener back over top of that, because we want to go a little bit more higher of a level. She is probably a level 10, I would say right now, and we're wanting to go up to probably an 11, maybe almost a 12, but her hair process is pretty fast, so she probably won't have to keep this on very long. I usually start in the back. Sometimes I start in the front of the head in the mohawk section, and sometimes I start in the back. It depends on how they process, especially if it's someone that I have done before. If it is not someone I have done their hair before, I will start in the back. So that way, if it processed faster, I can go ahead and take them to the bowl and rinse it out, and then just let the top finish. Where I know kind of how her hair does, I will just start in the back, because her hair processes fast, but it's not something that you have to really worry about too much. It's not gonna like turn within a couple of minutes, and you're gonna have to wash it out. So it's got a good processing time. So I'm just finishing working up the head. I'm using my board, and I'm using the lightener. I'll start kind of in the mid shaft and work my way up. You don't want to put, or I don't want to put too much lightener close to the root, because when you fold up that foil, it's going to smush in between there and create a bleed spot or a tiger stripe. I've talked about those before on my other videos. They are, if you've never watched them before and you're new here and you don't know what that is, it is a little piece of lightener that seeps through the foil, and it kind of doesn't belong to anything, and it doesn't go in your pattern, and it's like a little spot. It's like a little bleed spot, and it doesn't look good. A lot of times it's brassy, and it's out of place. So I'm now starting in the mohawk section on the top of her hair. She parts in the middle, so I'm going to be doing her bangs first. So that way, when she parts her hair, she'll have a nice, even strip of blonde there. I think that the top of the hair and the front of the hair is the most important part of the highlight, because that's the part that they see, and that's usually the part that everybody else sees first. So I really make that a priority to make sure that the sections are clean, even, and everything is nice and blended. And you want to be really careful, because that is also the part of the hair that gets the most damage. The most damage from the sun, pollution, just whatever. That's the part that is really susceptible to damage. So you want to be careful when you're putting lightener on the hair. And I try really hard not to overlap. Sometimes it's okay if you have a little bit of like some old blonde that just needs to be brightened up a little bit, but I don't try to take it down to the ends, because the ends are a lot more fragile than closer to the root. Another little tip that really helps me with the front and the top to get a really close piece to the root and get a lot of that of the darker hair that they want colored is to turn my client towards me, and I have them point their hair or their head down, so that way the angle is really well. And I'm also a tad bit on the shorter side, so it helps me a little bit get a little bit closer to that root and get a little bit of a better angle, because my chair is honestly on the highest setting and it's still pretty short for me. Sorry, I meant the lowest setting, the shortest setting, and it's still not big enough for me. I also do not mix up a lot of bleach at one time, because if you let it sit, then it can turn in the bowl and its potency kind of lowers. So I honestly just mix up a little bit, and then when I run out, I go and mix more. I would rather mix more than make a whole bunch, and it does get a little bit kind of foamy if it sits for a long time. And then that part is going on the hair like towards the end, and it's not going to process as fast because it's not freshly mixed. I also mixed Olaplex Step 1 in with her formula, and I do that with all of my blondes, and when they're at the bowl, I just put Step 2 on their hair after that, because I feel like it really helps the blonde. Whenever you put it on, it just gives you a little bit of protection and something in there with the bleach. My subsections are really small. They usually teach you, like in beauty school, to do about 1/8 of an inch. And that is actually a really good, just general rule, is it should be really 1/8 of an inch or less. I guess less than 1/8 of an inch is probably more considered baby lights, which I do those too, but not on this particular client that we're doing today. I'm not doing really baby lights on it. But I think the thinner pieces that you do, the more natural it looks, the more blended it looks. Of course, if you wanted chunks or something like that, which chunks, highlighted hair with the chunks in it is actually becoming more popular. That was kind of a style in like the late 90s, kind of early 2000s. And it is kind of coming back. I think everything comes back in just kind of a different style or a different way. But the chunks you would probably do with slices instead of weaved pieces, and you would just like stack them on top of each other. And this right there was I was doing a paint between, so her hair is really blonde and she has some gray in there, so I do the paint between, so that way it puts her a little bit extra low light in there. I think with any blonde, unless you're doing just all over, completely all platinum, all over blonde, all the way to the root, I think you really need some, well, most people, I think, need some kind of low light in there, whether it is another blonde, whether it is a dark blonde color. I think, there needs to be some kind of other color in there if you're wanting, more of a natural look. But of course, if you're just doing all over, completely platinum, all the way to the root, you wouldn't need a low light. Unless, of course, you are leaving some of your natural color out in your hair. And that's actually what I do with my hair when I'm highlighting my own hair. I just leave out my natural color because I don't have any gray yet, but I just leave my natural color out and I don't have to do a paint between. So we are now coming to my very favorite part, which is taking out all the foils and seeing all this beautiful blonde color and getting to see what it's going to look like. A little sneak peek. It's hard to tell when it's wet, but you can kind of see what it's going to look like and how beautiful that it's going to be. And this is also, as I've said before, my client's favorite part of the appointment that they make. Getting all these after they're pulled out and then getting a nice shampoo. It's always nice when somebody else does your hair. It's always nice getting it shampooed and getting a little bit of a massage in there. It's very relaxing. So I'm getting all of the lightener rinsed out of her hair. And once I get that out, I will put the Step 2 on and let that sit. And then once I get that out, then we will start putting her toning shampoo on. Her hair doesn't really get a lot of warmth in it, so she doesn't really need a toner. Some people do, some people don't. You just have to look at it and just see if it looks brassy, if it needs a little bit more help. So hers doesn't. So I'm just going to use, after I get her Olaplex treatment on, I'm just going to use the purple shampoo. I get a lot of questions about purple shampoos a lot, just who needs them and what they really do, if they're really needed. I think for blondes, purple shampoo is really important. It needs to be at least, well, once a week. And, depends on how often you wash your hair. But it is something really good to keep your hair lightened, keep it from getting brassy. There's lots of different colors that you can use. There's ones for brunettes and there's ones for gray hair. So it's not just for blondes. It can be used. You can get the correct color for your hair color. So now we are moving on to the haircut, and she likes to have angled layers around her face. So I'm doing a slide cutting there to put the angles, and then I'm also doing just a long layered cut. She really didn't want any short layers. She wanted most of them really long. Her hair was actually really long, but we still did cut at least probably 3 or 4 inches off. So we've got it all dried. Well, I'll say about 80% dry. And we're just using the drying brush to give her a little bit of lift at the top. She really didn't want to put a whole lot of heat on it or do any kind of style, because she said she was just going home and she really didn't want to do anything to it because she was just going to probably put it up and do a little bit of cleaning. So I just kind of run my brush through it just to smooth it out a little bit, just so she could see the color and the layers, and everything turned out really, really pretty. I love this honey blonde. It's something that's really nice and bright. And I'm sorry, I forgot, I actually did do a little bit more cutting at the end. I took my thinning shears and I went through and trimmed her layers a little bit in the back just to make them blend a little bit more. Just on the ends, I didn't take any bulk of the hair off. She didn't need any bulky pieces cut out because her hair texture and her hair thickness is pretty normal, pretty typical. She didn't really need anything taken off. Just kind of give her a little bit more movement and just made it a little bit softer. Her layers just a little bit more softer. This was also probably her second or third Olaplex treatment with the Olaplex in with the lightener. And I think you can really tell the shine and the progress that she's made. Her hair wasn't very damaged before, but of course she had some damage, especially where she has been doing lightener for a while and getting highlights for a while. So you could really tell this time with the Olaplex how well it did. And this actually is her finished look, and I almost fell filming it, but I was fine, and we all had a good laugh out of it. Hey, we are finished today, and that was her finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to everyone that subscribed. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Leave me any comments below if you have any questions or comments, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Bye.